Hey, it's Peter with GameSpot. Today we're going to check out the Mad Catz MLG Pro Circuit Controller for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Both models of the controller ship with two analog sticks that you can use to replace the ones on the controller. Obviously the 360 has the standard 360 ones, similar to the standard controller. But you can also swap in a PlayStation-styled convex analog stick. Apart from that, you also have a PlayStation-style D-pad, which can be used in place of the traditional cross one on the 360. You get faceplates that you can switch out, the only difference being a matte or glossy finish, and these are for the large face and also one for each handle. The unit also comes with two 35-gram weights that can be installed, and if you want to forego weights and have a lighter controller, there is this weight cover over here. And obviously you get this braided cable here. The controller only works in a wired fashion. Now also the 360 model comes with a microphone adapter and a little thing to secure the adapter to the microphone itself. So the most notable feature about these controllers are the little modules you can use to configure the arrangement of the various analog sticks and D-pads that are provided with this controller. So changing out the components is pretty easy. You start by taking off the faceplate. And for the analog sticks, there are little plastic nubs all around the edge of the module. Just apply pressure, and you can pop it right out. For the D-pad, you actually have to apply pressure to the pad itself. So obviously, you can switch out analog sticks, one style for the other. The one limitation is this slot is dedicated to analog sticks only. You cannot, say, move a D-pad over there. And likewise, you can only have one D-pad functional at a time. You can install two if you like, but only one will work. And preference, I believe, is given to this slot down here. Apart from that, if you try to install two analog sticks on the left-hand side, only one of them will function. This is kind of the dedicated slot, and you must have an analog stick in here at all times in order to use two sticks at the same time. To install the weights, simply flip the controller around, pop off this little cage. We're then going to just slide these weights right in, and they click in with a little securing mechanism. To reinstall, simply slide it back into place. And when it comes time to secure the cable, simply insert it into the slot, making sure the holes meet up, and spin the securing ring around to give it a nice firm connection. So the nice thing about the interchangeable faceplates is that they secure with a little magnet that's located on various points underneath the plate. It has a very satisfying snap when reconnected. Lets you know that it's really firmly in place. Now, considering this is branded with the MLG name and is considered to be a professional grade controller, you'd expect performance to be on that level. The analog sticks for each style perform very well. They're very responsive, and the cable is designed with low latency in mind, which, as far as we could tell during our tests, was completely accurate. Now, the most disappointing thing about this controller is the D-pad. I am one of those few people who prefers a D-pad for fighting games, and I really wanted to have a PlayStation-style D-pad on a 360 controller. Sadly, it's inaccurate to the point where it's almost unusable. Now, you can find yourself pressing down, and your cursor on the screen will move left or right kind of arbitrarily. You can even just keep your finger there, move it back and forth, and you'll see the same effect occur. For a pro controller, this is really disappointing. You'd expect everything would function as it's intended, and something like a D-pad that's been around for decades in the gaming world shouldn't have problems that this controller is exhibiting at this point, especially when the cost is upwards of $100. One of the great features about the PlayStation model is that by pressing the start and select buttons simultaneously, you'll notice the lights on the bottom flash. Now that indicates the functions between R1 and R2 are switched. Now, a lot of gamers have a problem with shooters on the PlayStation because they reverse these when ported from the 360. This kind of alleviates that issue and is a nice nod to fans from Mad Catz. So you think for $100 that the components and the performance of the controller would be a good value for your dollar. Now, there are a few things lacking. Like I mentioned before, the D-pad. Also, there is no wireless functionality or force feedback. Now, granted, a lot of people say these things were eliminated because this is supposed to be a pro gaming controller. But that being said, that does not mean it's not going to be used in a casual setting. Now, I don't want to spend $100 on a controller I'm only going to use part of the time. I want to be able to use it whenever I can. So that's really disappointing considering the high cost. So what you have is a really expensive controller. Granted, it does come with a lot of options for configuration, something that hasn't really been seen in the third-party controller market before. But there's just no getting beyond the D-pad, which is completely inaccurate. You'd think, again, for a pro gaming controller that you wouldn't see these sort of inaccuracies. In the end, is this product worth it? It depends on what you do with gaming. If you're a pro gamer who mostly plays shooters, yeah, I could see the analog sticks sufficing. But for anything other than that, this pretty much is not for your average consumer. The cost is too high, and the performance just doesn't match up with a standard controller that you can get for nearly half the price.